2023 seems like it's going to be another good year for the Nintendo Switch, with additional content for Splatoon 3 and Fire Emblem Engage, Pikmin 4, remastered versions of Kirby Return to Dreamland, Metroid Prime, Octopath Traveler 2, Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games with the Nintendo Switch Online, and of course, the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Switch users are gonna have plenty to do, for the first half of the year at least. There have been some murmurs the past few weeks regarding Nintendo's future, and most specifically about the successor to the Switch. The Nintendo Switch released on March 3rd, 2017, meaning that the console will celebrate its 6th year anniversary, as hard as it is to believe. After more than half a decade on the market, there's reason to start looking ahead to Nintendo's next venture in the home console game. After all, consoles tend to have a lifespan of 5 to 7 years before retiring and leaving to spotlight to their successor. It was the case for the Wii U, which lasted for 4 years, the PS4 for 7, and the same for the Xbox One. Of course, you have outliers like the Game Boy, which has lasted for 12 years, and the 3DS, which lasted for 9 years. But there are indications that the Switch is nearing the end of its time as Nintendo's main console. Well, there's nothing concrete, but there are things that lead us to speculate. First, notice how most of what's been announced or shown during the latest Direct was stated to release during the first half of the year, with the major exception being the new Layton game. That was how the Direct was advertised at, but think about it. After Tears of the Kingdom and Pikmin 4 release, what's Nintendo's next big first-party game? Nothing really comes to mind, right? Now consider this article from IGN. According to it, neither Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo plan to attend E3 this year. The presumed reason for Nintendo's absence this year is that the company probably doesn't have that much to show for the second half of the year. This could mean that most of the development at Nintendo has shifted from the Switch and onto their next-gen console, leading to less and less first-party releases for it. It's not too dissimilar to the drought that fans experienced in the transition from the Wii U and the 3DS to the Switch back in 2016. For example, a game like Metroid Prime 4 might now be developed on this potential new hardware instead of the Switch, alongside all of your favorite pipe dream games like F-Zero, Star Fox, and Donkey Kong. Now that's not to say that the Switch is done and won't be getting any games anymore. They still have to release Professor Layton for one. But even looking at something like the PS4, despite it not being Sony's main priority, it still receives games. So the same is probably going to be true for the Switch. But then that begs the question, what would Nintendo's next console be? Honestly, it could be anything. They could double down and make the forever rumored Switch Pro. They could do something completely different, maybe something with VR. Labo did have some VR capabilities. If we look at Nintendo's track record, it will most likely have some kind of gimmick like motion controls, glasses-free 3D, being a hybrid, and so forth. They could do anything, though it is hard to imagine them going back to separate handheld and home console games. Heck, it could also be that the Switch is going to go down the road of the Game Boy, a decade-long lifespan with an upgraded version along the way. It has recently become the third highest selling console of all time. If it keeps selling, why create something new, right? So what would you guys like best? A new console? What would you like to see? A regular but powerful console? What kind of gimmick would you find interesting? Or would you rather Nintendo keep rolling with the Switch? Let us know in the comments.